this was made in the 80s, okay?
Okay.
And one thing I noticed about watching it today is that Beetlejuice is a pervert. Okay?
Oh yeah.
I should preface with this series Penny watches for the first time. Penny grew up in China, in mainland China. So a lot of the American movies just weren't released around there since they were kind of closed off. So this is her first time seeing this without any references and seeing it with 2024 eyes and a different cultural lens. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, what did you think of Beetlejuice?
I think the cover on whatever streaming service that was very
It was on
misleading.
Max.
On Max was very misleading because I the reason why I've been hesitant to watch it is because I thought it's some type of like Halloween movie that everybody dressed like that and like it's like in some it didn't look appealing or it didn't look like the type of movie I'd want to see like if you judge by the cover of that movie. But I think like from only from even from the beginning of the movie I saw it's like a real life kind of situation, even if it's not real, but it's not like cartoonish movie, so I think it'd be
Yeah,
better.
the kind of genre this is, and they don't really do that genre anymore. It's called the playful comic fantasy. So it's basically like the world that we know, a little bit more fantasy elements, but it's also slightly a comedy. So movie like examples for this, and you haven't seen these either, is like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Okay. Also, like Death Becomes Her is kind of like that as well. It's a little morbid, maybe, but a little funny, but not too heavy. And yeah, they don't really make movies like that anymore. Not that specific genre.
I can see this being like a fun entertainment genre back then. I'm not sure if they bring this genre back to today. I don't know. Like I feel like the bar is set pretty high. The standard is pretty set pretty high. Like it's pretty funny in the past. But now if you try to make a movie like that, like it has to be funny enough and not and don't look fake or dumb. I don't know if like it's easy to make these days for that specific genre.
I mean, we'll get into it later because we're going to discuss like the sequel that's coming up. So, what do you think of this story?
I like the story. I it's quite unique and it's simple enough, right? It's just these couple that got into an accident become ghosts and trapped in their own house. And like the main line is that they try to scare these new tenants that moved into their house, but in the meantime they also like got involved with the other like dead people and obviously a whole organization of the dead.
Yeah, there's like a whole thing of world building in it, and they people who off themselves they said they work in civil services, and then you kind of see that earlier, but they make that reference later on in the movie, and just those little connections that I kind of didn't remember, but it's been well over a decade since I've last seen this. You used to watch Schitt's Creek, so you recognize the mom played by Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
She's also in Home Alone. She's a mom in Home Alone. Winona Ryder. She was 17 in this movie, so she's actually playing her age. You also have I'm not gonna even mention the dad, Jeffrey Jones. He got in a little bit of a lot of trouble a few years ago. So
Oh, I haven't heard of him or even recognized his face at all.
yeah, he's in quite a bit of movies, but movies that you'll probably see in the future. But I won't go into him very much. And you had Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. They played the couple who were the ghosts.
Oh, I love them. They look like a real couple. I don't know,
Yeah.
just like their look. They look
Well,
like a real couple.
yeah, they're very like wholesome. Like the wholesomeness of the town, they kind of encapsulated that. And of course, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, the title character, which I kind of find funny that he's only in the movie maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think if he's in it longer, that he probably would have worn out his welcome on really.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think of the acting in it?
I mean, it just feels very natural. Like there wasn't even 1 second that I felt like this thing is ridiculous or anything. Even though like the story is nothing close to real life, right? But there wasn't even one moment where I feel like this is so ridiculous. This is so absurd. This will never happen. Which I felt that moment in a lot of today's movies. So I think just that it kind of just get you into the story and make you live that story along with them.
Yeah, I the story and the characters seem a little bit more wholesome than I remember. It's like it seems like in any other movie you have like the dad who's trying to like use the town as this like way to make money, like this capitalist state of mind. You have the stepmother who is kind of like a jerk, you know, like she's too good to be here. But in any other movie, well, in most movies, they would be sort of like the evil stepmom and everything, but it's like they become one big family at the end with the ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, even if they have bad like personality trait, but they didn't make them look like the biggest like villain in the movie, right? They're just like business people. They just have a different perspective.
It's like New Yorkers moving into the small town and
Yeah,
trying to corrupt the small town, and
but I think it's also like the style of it, like it's a comic. They try to make it funny. So like in a funny comic, you wouldn't really see the evil people being like hateful. They're still like likable and funny in their own ways. Yeah,
mhm,
it's a genre that's so unique in its own style by
mhm.
itself. So just by looking at it, I can't really say how I can judge the director by his own style.
Well, I mean, we'll probably see more movies in the future, but his first one was Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and you get a hint of that style, but it's like the playful comic fantasy. After this, a year after this, he made Batman, which was huge when it came out. And Michael Keaton played Batman, who played
Uh-huh.
Beetlejuice in this, and people threw a fit when he was cast as Batman because he was a comedian.
Yeah.
And you're casting a comedian to play Batman, but then people saw him and then they loved him. They loved Michael Keaton as Batman. And then he made Batman Returns, which is I love Batman Returns because it's so like weird and horny. And he got fired from that and everything. I don't he didn't direct, but he helped create A Nightmare Before Christmas. You remember we watched The Flash and they had at the end all the different Supermen from the different universes and had the Nicolas Cage Superman. That was going to be a Tim Burton Superman movie
Okay.
starring Nicolas Cage as Superman.
Is that new or is that
No, he was going to make that in the 90s and right at the last minute they just canceled it.
I think that was a good idea. That was a good decision to
I
cancel.
I'm kind of curious to see it. Danny Elfman, he does like the score and like most of his movies that I know of, and he's just this is a very great score for this movie. It just fits the movie perfectly, just like Batman too. But you're familiar with The Simpsons? He did the opening for The
Yeah,
Simpsons.
yeah.
But would you be open to seeing more Tim Burton movies after seeing Beetlejuice?
Let's judge like the director on this specific movie unless you tell me that he makes a couple other movies that just like this has the same style. I'll be open to watch it, but if it's something different, then I can't really say, but I mean, I watch a lot of movies with you, and
Mm.
and it's funny because like before, when your friends heard that I'm gonna watch this movie for the first time, they were like, it's funny, but it's kind of weird, and you have to like that weirdness. And I think I'm not sure if I completely agree with that, because I think this is just a very easy to like type of weirdness. Like I don't think there will be people that look at this, it's like, what, this is ridiculous.
Um, what do you think of the effects of it? Because I really still like the effects. It's like a lot of claymation, which I mean, Tim Burton will stop motion, and Tim Burton is known for this through A Nightmare Before Christmas, and a lot of his movies after this. I like it. I know it's dated, but I like the otherworldly feel of a lot of his set pieces and everything to this, and I think it really holds up. It sells the movie, and that's why I'm kind of worried about the sequel, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
because it's going to use a lot of CGI. I can already tell from the trailers it's going to use CGI. I wish they kind of stuck with when we see the alien Romulus, they still use the old futuristic tech where they have CTR screens and everything, and some of the people kind of have like 70s haircuts, just to make it feel like streamlined with the original movie.
Mhm.
I feel like it's gonna have a lot of CGI that just kind of ruins the feel of the original. Like it's not a great transition. Just seeing it now, what did you think of the effects? I mean,
Like, are we talking about like the snake, the two-head snake coming from the
yeah,
desert?
Shai Halud.
It didn't make me feel like that was bad CGI. I think because
It was stop motion
oh, stop
animation.
motion.
Yeah.
So it's like very tiny stuff, and you zoom in on that.
Well, it's like you move it a little bit like this.
Oh, like okay. I actually didn't feel that was. I think it looked really good, but it's not because I didn't think it was bad CGI
Hmm.
or anything. Instead, I feel like it kind of is its own style. It kind of remind me of I don't know, like story like Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland or like the Charlie Chocolate Factory. It's like it's
You saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
the original.
You saw the one in Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw
That's
this.
not the original.
That
And
was my
Tim
original.
Burton made that.
Oh, okay. All makes sense now. But I'm just saying, like, this movie gives me like a half, like a tiny little bit of like cartoon-ish type of style. So to see something weird like that happen, even if it looks kind of bad, it makes me feel like maybe that's like a kids will even like
Yeah.
something like that.
Hmm.
So it didn't look completely out of like what's the word? It didn't look completely out of whack.
Okay.
It looks like, kind of funny, kind of
It
goofy.
fits the world, it fits the feel of the movie.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, well, it's kind of. I think the last great movie Tim Burton has made is probably Sweeney Todd, and that's been like 20 years. So I'm kind of nervous about Beetlejuice. I want to see it. People have been clamoring for the sequel for a long time. You could tell just by the crappy Photoshop posters people made on like Facebook and share. It's like, oh, it's coming, and that was like 10 years ago. I'm like, it's not coming. This is a terrible Photoshop poster of it.
And the I think for this new one to be like popular and well liked, I feel like it's well, on one hand, I think it really has to do a great job to even match the greatness of the original.
Hmm.
Because people have high expectation coming to see this new movie. But on the other hand, how hard is it to make a sequel of this? It's like everybody loves this. You take one piece out of this original, either the character or make a different story. Or do a similar style of the movie. I feel like people are gonna really like it. It's like the only second dose of something that you really love. Like, how hard is it to
Yeah.
make it likable?
I'll bring up one of my concerns because in this movie, Beetlejuice is the villain, right? A likable villain, but this was made in the 80s, okay?
Okay.
And one thing I noticed about watching it today is that Beetlejuice is a pervert, okay?
Oh yeah.
he he's like looking up skirts. He's trying to marry
Little girl,
a
yeah.
high schooler,
Okay.
okay? And he I mean there's like other moments in it too, but how are they going? Okay, so my concern is they're gonna make him a good guy in this one because it looks like Monica Bluizzi. I don't even know if I'm saying the name right. She's the villain in it, and I think they're gonna have a lot more Beetlejuice. Okay, you might wear out his welcome, but you know I love Michael Keaton's performance in this. Okay, he's brilliant as a Beetlejuice. I think he's a brilliant actor, but I don't see how you get to this movie made in 1988, which they can get away with a lot more in 1988. Like, it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
bother people. They could talk about, suicide or him just being a flat out pervert
Yeah.
or even a bit of a ghostly sex criminal, you know?
I was uncomfortable seeing him, like kissing that girl on the lip for the first time.
Yeah, you
Like,
just like looking up her skirt, forcing a kiss, trying to marry a 16 or 17-year-old, and then they're going to try to make him the the good guy in the next one. I and maybe they won't. I mean, that's I've just seen the trailers and everything, but I can't register that on with after just seeing this.
I mean, obviously they're not gonna continue with the the intolerable behavior in this new movie, but I think I'm not sure if it'd be a great idea for them to make him a good guy, because like that's not what his original character was.
Mm,
But I think as long as they stick with like tweaking like his behavior, his quirkiness, if
yeah.
they focus on him just being kind of like a weird person and like act not like act weird and creepy and abnormal, I think it will be acceptable. I can't really see them making him like a warm-hearted, wholesome person.
I don't think he's going to be warm-hearted, but he's not going to be a complete pervert in the new one. But are you looking forward to the sequel now after seeing this?
I'm just a little scared that what if the new movie is bad?
That's what everyone's scared about.
I mean,
Especially when it's been nearly 40 years since the original. It's probably like 36. I don't know if I'm doing the math right, but
I think as long as I walk out of the theater thinking too bad, I kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of funny.
mhm,
I think that's the least thing that
yeah.
I will accept.
It's gonna be hard to compete with the original
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
lived in people's minds for most of their lives. So, what are some of your favorite scenes in the movie?
I think my favorite ones was definitely the new tenants sitting with their guests at the table while being like, I don't know, manipulated or like possessed to do that dance. That was definitely one of my most favorite movie moment of all time.
I actually just read something about that the studio wanted him to cut that whole scene out,
Oh
and
my
he added
goodness.
it in at the last minute.
Oh, even being made this movie so great if they cut it out. It's like the best part of the movie.
What any other scenes that you can think of that you liked?
Pretty smart for for them to do like a little mini model of the whole town and have like Beetlejuice live in one of like just live in that model where you can go in and outside of like reality like that. I feel like wow, that is a really smart setup. Otherwise, how do you go from like real life in the world then, go into this crazy, crazy world where Beetlejuice live?
Are you talking about the model, or are you talking about like the whole afterlife? The
I'm talking
model,
about the
yeah.
model, how
Hmm.
they like can get Beetlejuice out of that model and put or like put suppress him back in there. I
Yeah.
feel like that's a really genius setup.
Yeah, I'm just like surprised about how tight this movie is. Like, there's like
Yes.
no wasted moment in it. It's like an hour and 30 minutes, and just now we don't have any like limitations on on a disc or like streaming or anything, so people can just make movies however long they want. They can make how many other movies they want, and it just kind of dilutes the movie with the inflated runtime. But this is just such a tight movie that you can just watch over and over, and that's why people watch it over and over because it's an hour and a half. That's all it is,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
and they fit a lot in it.
yeah, they do. And the part where they draw the door on the wall and what's behind there, it's also like really funny, right? A lot of like the background characters, like their behavior are so funny and contributing to, it's not really it's creepy and so funny like behind that door. And these few things that we just mentioned, that put together is the whole movie. So it really is like you start in any point of this movie, you're gonna have a great time watching the scene from any point.
Yeah, it's very rewatchable, and then a lot of the designs of the people who died and very creative, especially
Talking about this
with the
again.
limited amount of practical Oh, well, you know, they use a lot of practical effects, but the limited amount of technology that they had in 1988 to make that stuff possible, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and you know how, I asked you in the middle of the movie, I'm like, that small head man?
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what it is, but it did catch my eye.
You
Like,
never heard of head shrinkers, which
no.
is kind of funny.
No, and what's funny is that at the end of the movie, they made him one of those like saw-head men. That was just like, wow. It all like come back into the whole circle.
So, what are your final thoughts and your rating of Beetlejuice?
I think this is a very creative movie. The way it's shot is just they put in some really genius ideas in this movie. The story was just smooth, fluent, absurd, but at the same time so fun to watch. Some of the special effects that they do are just hilarious, and you would never think of how they can like open up their mouth and they tweak their face like that, and the eyeballs come out of
And he
the
multiplies the
throat.
eyeballs, and they're all on his hand.
It's so creative. I have no idea how they even came up with this, but like the whole story is like you said so wholesome, and just this is a timeless movie, I have to say. So it's 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Penny likes Beetlejuice. Penny likes an old movie. Yeah, just like I said before, it's a very tight movie. It's a classic. Performances are all great, especially Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. It's the small amount of screen time, he's just like incredibly memorable. And I just love the style. This is just quintessential Tim Burton right here. Like he had his first movie with the Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He had this, and this is signature Tim Burton with
Okay.
Danny Elfman music, all that stylistic uh, designs of all the world, like the outside of the house, or the world of the dead, or even when they redo the house. It's Tim Burton, and yeah, this is just the quintessential Tim Burton movie, and I'm gonna match with you. I say 4.5. It's a classic, so I love it.
That's very rare when we both give like such high score of
Yeah,
a
especially
movie.
a movie that came out almost 40 years ago
Yeah.
and you liked it.
Yeah, it's really a classic.
Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
But thanks for watching. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what Penny should probably watch next, and we'll see you later. Bye.